Yeah. So before we go into the chapter 7, there are a few verses left in 6th chapter. 13 onwards. And with 6, 13 to, we will finish 7th chapter. So we will each read 5 verses. Okay, here another NKJV Bible if anybody wants. Okay.
Oh, yeah, why don't you give it to me so I don't have to read it?
Yeah.
I was going to go ahead.
So we're in 6. We're going to
Thanks.
start with 6.
6, 13 onwards until
6,
7
13.
end.
Hebrews.
Hebrews.
Chapter 6. The last.
What? That one?
Yeah, for God made a promise.
Yeah, for when God made.
Promise.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
We each read 5 verses. For when God made 6:30. For when God made promise to Abraham, because he could swear no one greater, he swore by himself, saying, surely blessing, I will bless you, and multiplying, I will multiply you. And so, after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise. For men indeed swear by the greater, and an oath for confirmation is for them an end of all dispute. Someone can read from 17.
Thus God, determining to show more abundantly to the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath, that by 2 immutable things in which it is impossible for God to lie, we might have strong consolation, who have fled for refuge to lay hold of the hope set before us. This hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which enters the presence behind the veil, where the forerunner has entered for us, even Jesus, having become high priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek.
You want to read now? Arnie?
For this?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
With this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, we met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the king and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a 10th part of all, first being translated King of Righteousness, and then also King of Salem, meaning King of Peace. Without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, remaining our priest continuously. Next.
Pause and consider how great this man was, to whom Abraham, the patriarch, gave a tenth of the spoils. It is true that those descendants of Levi who are charged with the priestly office are commanded in the law to collect tithes from the people, which means from their kinsmen, though these have descended from Abraham. But this person, Melchizedek, who is not from the Levitical ancestry, received tithes from Abraham and blessed him, who possessed the promises of God. Yet it is beyond all dispute that the lesser person is always blessed by the greater one. Furthermore, here in the Levitical priesthood, tithes are received by men who are subject to death. But in the case concerning Melchizedek, they are received by one whom it is specified that he lives on perpetually. Some more?
Someone else can read. Joe?
So, and Okay, and check 9, isn't it? And as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes to Abraham. For he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. If therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is made of necessity a change also of the law. For he of whom these things are spoken pertaineth to another tribe, of which no man gave attendance at the altar. For it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning the priesthood. I think that's, I read 5, is it probably
What
5?
verse are we up to?
15.
15. And it is yet far more evident if in the likeness of Melchizedek, there rises another priest, who has come not according to the law of a fleshly commandment, but according to the law of an endless life. For he testifies, you are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek.
For on the one hand there is an annulling of the former commandment because of its weakness and unprofitableness. For the law made nothing perfect. On the other hand, there is the bringing in of a better hope, through which we draw near to God. And inasmuch as he was not made priest without an oath, for they have become priests without an oath, but he with an oath by him who said to him, the Lord has sworn and will not relent. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. By so much more, Jesus has become surety of our better covenant. So you want to continue? 23rd.
Also there were many priests, because they were prevented by death from continuing. But he, because he continues forever, has an unchangeable priesthood. Therefore, he is also able to save to the uttermost those who come to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. Keep going.
Yes.
For such a high priest was fitting for us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and has become higher than the heavens, who does not need daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifices, first for his own sins and then for the people's. For this he did once for all, when he offered up himself. For the law appoints as high priests men who have weakness, but the word of the oath which came after the law appoints the Son, who has been perfected forever.
Amen.
That's a tough chapter to teach from.
Yes. Actually, the words that I wanted to speak are spoken. I told you in the fifth chapter, at the end of the 5th chapter, it tells, still you are like a infant. You have to grow. And then we enter into the 6th chapter and we dealt some of the tough topics. Actually, the author, why he was warned the readers, still you are like infants. We want to give you tough material or tough stuff to you, but you are not yet ready. Now he started giving the tough stuff. That tough stuff is this 7th chapter, not the 6th chapter. Of course, 6th chapter is the toughest chapter in the Christian history in the church. But the author, can you take up, read the 5th chapter, last verses?
Last verse.
Unskilled, yeah. For those whom we have to say,
solid food belongs to those.
Yeah,
Starting at
from
12.
5:12.
12.
For them.
So you can read.
For though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first principles of the oracles of God. And you have come to need milk and not solid food. For everyone who partakes only of milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But solid food belongs to those who are of full age, that is, those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil.
Yes, thank you, sir.
That's
So
what
here
we have you here.
this author wants to say, I want to give you tough stuff, but still you are like an infant who drinks milk, not the meat. Now he is giving the meat in the 7th chapter, starting from 6th chapter. In the 6th chapter, 13th onwards, he is talking about the oath that was given to Abraham. What was the oath given to Abraham? You will have.
Well, he was going to bless them. He said, through him all the families of the earth would be blessed
Yes.
by his seed that was the Lord.
Yes. Now, when we are reading any chapter of the Hebrews, we have to keep in our mind that this author is specifically speaking to the Jewish people or the Hebrew people. So these Hebrews, Abraham is their father. They boasted in Abraham. God chosen our father Abraham. We are his children. So they took pride in Abraham. When Abraham was 75 years old, he was promised that he will have son, and through his son he will bless the nations. Now all the people that this author is targeting by flesh, they are the sons of Abraham. Now that the promise or the covenant that was given to Abraham was not fulfilled until
The death of Christ.
for 25 years that
the
oath.
the promise for him to have a child.
Yes. So that was not fulfilled and Abraham waited for long. So here we know Abraham waited for 25 years. When he was 75 years, there was no hope that he will have children. But at that age, he received a promise from God, which is impossible to have children. But after, in that impossible state, he waited for 25 years. And he got that. Right? God did not fail in his promise. And we are all, this author including himself, we are all the promise of Abraham. We are all the fruits of that oath. He waited for a long time. You who are persecuted Jewish Christians, you have to, how Abraham perceived in his faith that he will have son, you also have to have the same hope. These Jewish Christians are under the great persecution at the time of this episode. And he is telling them, some people are leaving their hope and they are going back to their old Judaism. So now he is telling, don't lose your hope. That promise is very certain. The promise that is given to Abraham is very certain. He waited for a long time to see his promise in action. You have to wait. You have to continue in the hope. And in the 7th chapter, he talks, in the 6th chapter, last verse. What is the last verse? Can someone read the last verse of the 6th chapter?
Whether the forerunner is for us entered, even Jesus made an high priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek.
Yes. Now even the forerunner has entered for us. Even Jesus having become high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. If you see this Melchizedek, he was introduced in the 5th chapter, and there are many places in this Hebrews book spoken about the high priest. Jesus as the high priest. If we see 2nd chapter, first of all I want to thank you, Sue, for getting these prints. You made my job so easy. Otherwise I have to roam around these New York streets to get these prints. 3333.
I made you 7.
We
Oh my goodness,
yes,
yes.
praise God.
Oh, yeah.
We expected 7, but one more extra. So I do not know who will adjust.
We can
So
have
can
one.
Oh, I have.
You
no,
can have
no,
one together.
You can give it out to all, because I have it. Do I have? Oh, I have it.
No,
on
you
my
can
list.
sit beside
I can,
her, Dawn,
And I'll share with her. And
yeah.
Okay. So you can keep. I should have made it. We usually don't have this many people. But because I usually share like 10 and
Dawn,
then
can you,
people show
Let's
up.
make notes on it.
pass.
We can keep one together.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Yeah.
This
you
is
can.
today's, right?
Yes, it is for today.
The 18th.
Thank you, thank you.
When I usually make like 10 or whatever, and then there's 2 people that come with 2 people. Okay, it's better.
Yeah.
That more people came.
Yes.
Next time I'll make 10.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting crowded here.
Okay. Now, if you see in the 2nd page, 3rd page, here both sides printed it is. So you see in the 3rd page, in the 2nd chapter, he was spoken about the high priest, and in the 4th chapter, he spoken about the high priest. Are you hearing this high priest from the beginning of our Bible study? In Hebrews?
Well, I remember it mentions a lot.
Yeah,
Yes,
it mentions a
it's
lot.
mentioned more
So,
there's only a small story in what is it, Genesis, and then it's mentioned here more than in the original story about
yes, yes. So if you see the 2nd chapter last verse, 17, 2:17. Therefore, in all things he had to be made like his brethren, that he might be merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make propitiation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself has suffered, being tempted, he is able to aid those who are tempted. And in 4th chapter also we will see this high priest. And in 5th chapter, 5:1, for every high priest taken from among men is appointed for men in things pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. And in the 6th chapter, last verse, he says that Melchizedek in the order of, high priest, Jesus high priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. So, why this high priest is so important? Why author is talking about this high priesthood
For Jewish
frequently
people, yeah.
in this?
Because for the Jewish
episode.
people it was important. The high priest was the key to their forgiveness of sin.
Yes.
Only the high priest was able to go into the Holy of Holies one time a year,
on Yom Kippur and bring in the sacrifice that covered the people's sins for the next, until the following year.
Correct.
So without that, there would be no forgiveness of sin,
Yes.
according to the Mosaic law.
If there is no priesthood, there is no relationship with God for the Jews. This high priest is a super. For high priest was the supreme. You can see in your papers. High priest duty and importance. High priest was the supreme religious leader and representative of man to God to offer sacrifices for sins and supplication. For every high priest chosen from, reading from Hebrews 5:1. For every high priest chosen from among men is appointed to act on behalf of men in relation to God to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. In Numbers 18:7, and you and your sons, this is you is Aaron. With you shall guard your priesthood for all that concerns that altar and that is within the veil, and you shall serve. I give your priesthood as a gift, and any outsider who comes near shall be put to death. Then Moses said to Aaron, this is in Leviticus 9:7. Then Moses said to Aaron, draw near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, and bring the offering of the people and make atonement for them, as the Lord has commanded. In Leviticus 16:6, Aaron shall offer the bull as sin offering for himself, and shall make atonement for himself and for his house. The high priest had to offer a sin offering not only for the sins of the whole congregation, but also for himself. Consequently, he is able to save the uttermost who draw near to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. The most important duty of the high priest was to conduct the service on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, according to Hebrew, the Day of Atonement, the 10th day of the 7th month of every year. Only he was allowed to enter the most holy place behind the veil to stand before God. Having made sacrifice for himself and the people, he then brought the blood into the Holy of Holies and sprinkled it on the mercy seat, God's throne. We can see this in Leviticus 16 chapter. He did this to make atonement for himself and the people for all their sins committed during the year just ended. That means this was taking place every year. It is this particular service that is compared to the ministry of Jesus as our high priest. Now, what are the qualifications for this high priest? First thing is, he must be
In the line of Levi, in Aaron's line.
before that. Yes, he must be from Levite or Aaron. Before that, he must be a man.
Oh, not a woman? Not a woman?
No, I mean human. He must be
A
from human. Okay, I do not know whether there is in history there is
If
a
he comes from a... if he
women
comes-
high priest.
No, I was only
Okay.
joking. I was
Okay.
just joking.
Okay, I mean here man means at
A
this
human being.
human being. He must be a human being. Why?
Well, he can't be from the
Actually,
line of anyone.
first of all, what is the duty of high priest?
To offer the sacrifices.
Offer the
For-
sacrifices for sins and also
And for-
supplications.
And also, it goes for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So how can I present all the supplications or the sin sacrifices to God if I am a high priest? If I am able to sympathize with everyone, with co-brothers, Because if he is able to sympathize himself for whom he is offering the sacrifices, for whom he giving on behalf of whom he is giving the supplications to God, he must sympathize himself with the people for whom he is doing. So that means he must be a man. Okay? And the other rule that is given to Moses by God is he must be from
Levi.
tribe of Levite. And Aaron's children in the Aaron line. So those are the qualifications. And the other thing is, he is working as a representative for humanity in the office of God. He is working for the God on behalf of people. In that way, he must be sympathize with the people, and also he is working in the office of God. This is the office of God. He must be appointed by God, not by the people. He must be high priest. Job is appointed by God. If I have an office, I will choose the people whom I want to work in my office. So this high priest job is a work of God or in the office of God, so it must be appointed by God. If we see in this Numbers 18:17 and Leviticus 9:7, we can see how God is speaking to Aaron through Moses. Then Moses, Leviticus 9:7, then Moses said to Aaron, draw near to altar and offer your sin offering. This is the command of God given to Aaron through Moses. Now if we see the 5:1, for high priest chosen from among men, he must be from humanity. He is appointed to act on behalf of men in relation to God, to offer gifts and sacrifices. Here the office and the purpose is clear, qualification also clear. Legally he must be Levite or Aaron line. Exodus 28:1, then bring near to you Aaron your brother, his sons with him, from among the people of Israel to serve me as priests. Aaron and Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. Okay, and these are the appointed by God. Here this is the God's voice in Exodus 28:1. And if you see this 5th chapter Hebrews 5:4, no one takes this honor for himself, but only when called by God, just as Aaron was. So this high priest must be called by God or appointed by God, as Aaron and his children, and as a command given to Moses. So also Christ did not exalt himself to be made a high priest, but was appointed by him who said to him, you are my son, today I have begotten you. If you see this in Psalm 110:4, can someone read Psalm 110:4?
The Lord has sworn and will not relent. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek.
Yes. And also in Psalm 2:7, I will tell of the decree. The Lord said to me, you are my son, today I have begotten you.